we are just reducing the inequality or the income disparity for a particular household, but we do not know what is happening within that household, within what is happening amongst the various members. Okay, we just say that you transfer income from a rich household to a poor household, but we don't say you transfer income from person X to person Y. We say from a rich household to poor household so that the Gini coefficient goes down. Okay. So the problem there is basically we consider household as one single unit, as if each member of the household has got the same utility function. They maximize the total welfare, total utility of the household, and they have got the same objective. Okay? So we disregard any interpersonal differences amongst the household members. But in reality, the household is not one single unit. It is a collection of utility function. It is a collective unit. Okay? So, because each members of the household may have a different utility function, their objectives could be different, their preferences could be different, and therefore we cannot use one unit or one single utility function to maximize the household's welfare or utility, or whatever you say, profit or production. So therefore we have to think that within the household, different members may have different utility function, but we try to maximize each of these utility functions so that the collective utility function is maximum. Okay? And there will be conflict, because if you want to maximize the utility function of person A within a household, you may have to reduce the utility of person B within the household. So it will depend how much weight you assign between person A and person B that will determine whether the overall household utility function or welfare will be maximized or it will go down when you reallocate resources from person B to person A and vice versa. Okay? So therefore we moved away from this utility function or unitary utility function to a collective utility function. And in a collective utility function, we have got cooperation, we have got struggle, we have got bargaining, we have got non-cooperation amongst the household members. Not necessarily always the members within the same household will always cooperate with each other. They can fight with each other, they can bargain with each other for resources, for time, for looking after the children, for consumption needs, for health expenditure, educational expenditure, renting land, or sharing the total output. So there will be cooperation, there will be non-cooperation as well. So don't assume that it is always a cooperation. That's why everyone has got the same objective function to maximize. Okay? So that's the essence of or significance of considering or discussing the household intra-household inequality rather than the macro level inequality. Okay? Right. So here, what are the issues? The main issues are basically we want to look at the standard of living. We want to improve the standard of living. So we say we want to reduce poverty, we want to improve the standard of living, we want to improve the welfare of the citizens. But remember, these are the attributes or these are the characteristics of the individual. It has got nothing to do with the household. But when we collect the data, it's always the standard of living of the household, that the poverty is measured on the basis of whether a household has got sufficient income or not. But in reality, these are the attributes of the individuals, but not the households. But as I said, due to the lack of information or data, we present the data at the household level. Okay, so which should be avoided as much as possible if we want to have a significant impact on the standard of living, or if you want to reduce poverty in a real sense. Why that is needed? It's because we normally observe a significant or a considerable within household inequality. So if you can address the inter-household inequality, but still the intra-household inequality can still remain there. So think about two countries where at the household level there isn't any inequalities, but within the household there is a significant inequality. So if you represent the national inequality through the Gini coefficient, that will hide these inter-household, it cannot capture these inequalities. But although we observe a significant within household inequality in terms of the allocation of resources, as I said, for health, education, consumption, or even time. Okay. So therefore, if we ignore these within household inequality, the overall social welfare or the overall welfare will be overstated and the national inequality will be understated. Okay? So we need to think about these inter-household allocation as well, so that we can capture the inequality, so that we don't underestimate the inequality. And also, we find that the poorer a country is, or the poorer the household is, the more inequality. Okay, so it's not, so that the poor household has got two problems here. On the one hand, each of these poor households, they are relatively poor in comparison to their neighbors. And within that household, there are more inequalities between husband and wife, between boy and between the son and daughter, or between the adult and the young, between the elderly and adult. Okay, there could be various types of between men and women. So it can take various forms. So within a poor household is poor in that village because the neighbors, their neighbors are richer, and also within that household there are some individuals who are even poorer. Okay, in terms of the food they get, in terms of the medicine expenditure, in terms of the medicine they consume if they fall ill, and so on. Okay, and education also. Okay, so this type of inequality within the household, they exhibit a pattern. So that's a good thing. We can see a pattern so that we can intervene. Okay, it's not random. So there is a pattern. For example, we can look at them by gender, by age. Okay. So if we can identify this particular gender is being discriminated within the household, then we can intervene. We can have some policies which will affect them. Okay? And also if we can say that this particular age group is being affected, then the government can have some policies which will address those. So we'll see next week when we discuss some policy implication. I'll give you some examples, the real world examples, so you'll see how some of these problems can be addressed. Okay? Okay. Now, so what are we going to test here? So our main hypothesis is that we say that within households there will be unequal allocation of resources, and we say that it might be efficient. It's not bad. So within the household, this sort of inequalities could be efficient because that is the way to divide the resources when income are low. So there are two conditions: if the household is poor, and also if the household is credit constrained, then it is efficient to allocate resources unequally. So that's why the household is doing it. It's not that they love inequality. Each household members could be averse, or the household heads could be averse to inequality. They may hate inequality, but still they will have to do it because they want to maximize household utility. That's why it is efficient. If you want to maximize household utility or welfare, you will have to discriminate. Non-discrimination will give you less food, less education, and so on at the household level. Okay? And this will happen when the household is, particularly when the household is poor, and if the household has got lack of access to the credit market, when the credit constraints are binding. And if this is the situation, then we observe that there will be bias in favor of the individuals who are more productive or most productive. Okay? So the bias in favor of the individuals in whom the investment has a higher payoff. So you rank the individuals within a household according to their productivity, and then you allocate resources. Okay? So that you attain the maximum outcome out of this allocation. Okay? So here there's a simple analogy where we say that it's called the lifeboat analogy. For example, a lifeboat can hold only 2 people, and suppose 3 individuals are drowning. So you will have to leave one person, you have to let one person to drown and die. So one must die to save 2. So you cannot save all 3. Very simple. Because the household is poor, because your capacity, the capacity of the lifeboat isn't that much. Okay? So if you want to save 2 individuals, you have to let one person to die. So because an equal division of resources may help nobody. Okay? So that's why it is efficient to help 2 individuals. Okay? Right. So from this analogy, we can say that if the households are extremely poor, so in case of extreme poverty, and equal division of the household resources, for example, the resources for food, during the lean agricultural season, when the farmers or the laborers, they don't have enough work in the field, for example, during the monsoon, during the rainy season, or during the floods, or they do not have any work. So during that period, they don't have any income. So whatever they earn for the first 9 months should be used to survive for the next 3 months, because the next agricultural cycle will start after 3 months. So during those three months of the lean season or the off-peak season, the household will have to decide what they will do, okay? Because they don't have any earning. So the equal division during those season, those off-peak season or the lean agricultural season may not help anybody, and because the resources, the food, the income will be quite limited, is too small. Therefore, everybody, if you divide them equally, everybody will be undernourished, and you will risk the ill health for everyone or even death for everyone if you divide them equally, okay, during that season, okay, because everyone will get lower than the threshold level of nutrition, and therefore everyone will suffer from sickness, and then because of this sickness, in the next cycle, agricultural cycle, next year, everyone will be less productive, and the household will become poorer next year, okay? So that's why it will have a long-term effect if you divide them equally, okay? And there could be some deaths as well, okay, in an extreme case. So here there is a long-term effect. So it's not that those 3 months, because what sort of decision you make as a household head, how you allocate resources or distribute resources among the members will have a long-run effect. Because if you suffer from sickness those 3 months, then when there is a high demand for labor, you will be less productive because of this because of the illness that you had for the last 3 months. Okay. So next year also your wage rate will fall because your productivity is lower. Your wage rate will fall. So in that household the overall income level will fall. Okay. So therefore the solution is that in presence of this sort of resource constraint, the unequal division has got a potential merit. That it helps at least some individuals. Okay, it will help some individuals to remain minimally productive. Okay, if you know that these are the individuals who can take part in the labor market next year, you keep them fit. Okay, give them the minimum threshold level of nutrition. Okay, so that they can remain fit and they can remain minimally productive. So that means that everybody will be better off. How? Because what is earned by these productive individuals will be shared with the unproductive individuals. So if you can, so that part is important. The sharing part is important here. Okay? That if you invest or if you allocate resources to the most productive person during this resource constraint period, then that person will earn more, and therefore everybody, that will improve the utility or the welfare of each individual within the household. Assuming that what is earned by these productive individuals will be shared. So that's why the sharing is involved. Okay, the sharing is important. Otherwise, this model will collapse. This model will not work. You cannot maximize the household utility. You can always prove that the household utility will be lower if the productive person do not share. Okay. So I think it is a valid assumption as well, because either that person will be father or elderly person or the adult who will have some blood connection with the rest of the family members, and they can always they will always share this the gain. The gain means the income, okay? Income in future. Okay.